I am angry. I think people know that I'm angry. I think that I am angrier of late than I have been for some time. And I think there's good reason to be angry at this moment. And I'm not going to apologize for being so. Being angry is a normal part of the human condition. And one of the things that greatly worries me about the world in which we live is that we're told that it is no longer acceptable to be angry. It is acceptable to be angry. If we suppress our anger, we become depressed. So we should have the opportunity to be angry, but not to oppress others whilst doing so. And let me explain why I'm angry. I'm angry with a country like the UK, which can deliberately oppress the vulnerable, as Labour is doing with regard to its changes to disability benefits. I'm angry that this is just the end of a series of changes that Labour has already made since being in office, including removing the winter fuel allowance from so many vulnerable pensioners and reimposing the 2-child cap on families so that so many children are consigned to poverty as a result of its deliberate decision to perpetuate the cruel Tory policy when the world expected better of the Labour Party. I'm angry that Keir Starmer will not stand up and condemn Donald Trump for his neo-fascist behaviour and for his aggression against Canada and Greenland and Panama, or for his support for Russia with regard to Ukraine. I'm angry that there is a neo-fascist in charge of the USA who is dismantling its democracy in plain sight. I'm angry that I know we only just about have democracy hanging on in the UK, and that Labour is refusing to do anything about that by transforming our voting system so that we might have an electoral system that ensures that people are represented in Parliament by members who think broadly like they do, so that there is a chance that every view will be represented, including, and I stress this very strongly, those who are from the right wing, if that is what people want. I'm angry that we have the Bank of England still keeping interest rates high in this country to impose upon people an unnecessary cost that results in the redistribution of massive amounts of wealth each year from those who are on low income and who are trying to provide for families to those who are wealthy and quite possibly in retirement. I'm angry about so much. And I think I should be. I am angry in particular that those on the supposed left, including the Labour Party, who are meant to come up with the answers to these problems and solve them, aren't doing so. And this anger is focused on not just the Labour Party, but also on the other supposed parties of the left. The Greens, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP even. None of them is coming up with any form of radical policy to try to solve these problems at all. They just shout, but there's no substance to what they have to say. And that is also true of left-wing think tanks, where it's much more commonplace for issues around identity politics or green politics, neither of which I'm saying are irrelevant, but neither of which are also at the core of the problems that we face with regard to the basic meeting of need in our society, which have been ignored for far too long. So yes, I'm angry, and in the process I'm probably not so good at suffering fools very gladly at present. But then, why would I be? Because there are so many fools in the world. And why would you want me to, in any case, be passive? If I was passive, I wouldn't make these videos. If I was passive, I wouldn't be seeking change. If I was passive, I wouldn't be trying to disrupt things. I like a quote from George Bernard Shaw, who was alive well over 100 years ago now. And he once said, and the language is sexist, and I apologise about that, but only a bit because it was relevant at the time. He said, "The reasonable man bends himself to the ways of the world. The unreasonable man tries to bend the ways of the world to those that he thinks appropriate. All progress is therefore dependent upon the existence of the unreasonable man." And I believe he was right. I believe being unreasonable is our task right now. I believe that we have to challenge this hegemonic status quo that is oppressing people, that is denying us our rights, that is pushing us towards war, that is denying us the opportunities that we need to actually fulfill our potential. And that is meaning that so many young people are feeling literally outside society because they can't see what society has to say to them. And I can see their point of view. I can see that people are angry at having reminders put in front of them all day, every day, of what they cannot have, which is what advertising is all about. I can see why people are angry. And we could do something different. We could choose to put care at the epicenter of our politics. We could put money aside and say, it is just a tool. We need it. We need to manage it. But it isn't what the economy is all about. We could put full employment as our goal and make it full employment at a fair income. We could redistribute income and wealth. We could look at how our armed forces could be used to preserve peace and not to promote aggression, which would fundamentally rethink how we look at their use in the future. We could just choose peace. We could actually put in place the mechanisms to tackle those who create conflict and bring them to justice, because that might be necessary. We could choose the law. We could choose the rule of law, and we could choose the right to democracy. We could choose these things, but we don't. Are you really surprised that I'm that angry? What else should I be? And what else should you be? If you aren't angry, why not? Because go and think about it and come back when you are angry, because that's what you need to be if this world is going to change. It won't change without you being as angry as I am. So go out there, inform yourself, and come back when you're really angry and want to demand the change so that we get the world that we really want.